We've got a ton to talk about here on the Commanders Report. First up, I'm going to tell you why the Commanders may not be fully out on the Brandon Aiyuk sweepstakes and how he could still be a Commander before the start of the season. Then we'll get into whether or not it's too late to go out and sign Stephon Gilmore to be this team's #1 starting outside cornerback. And we'll finish up today's show with some more takeaways from the Commanders' preseason Week 1 loss versus the New York Jets. Some injury updates as well, so make sure you guys stick around for those updates later in today's show. But before we get into today's content, go ahead, get down there in the comments section to kick off today's show by telling me the percent chance that Brandon Aiyuk becomes a Washington Commander this season. Put it on a scale of 0, meaning no chance, to 100, meaning he is definitely going to be a Commander. I want to know what you guys think down there in the comments section, so get our show started today. So let's start now with the latest odds for Brandon Aiyuk to become a Washington Commander. And what's interesting right now is that the Commanders currently sit at #2 in the betting odds for Aiyuk's next team. And right now, I can certainly see why they are #2, just behind the Pittsburgh Steelers at +200. The Commanders are sitting right now at +250. And the reason why I think the Commanders could still be in the running here is because I think that the 49ers' asking price has lowered since the Commanders reportedly got out of this sweepstakes a couple of weeks ago. So here's a report from Jordan Schultz here. It says, sources, free agent wide receiver Martavis Bryant is working out with the Commanders on Tuesday. This will be his second visit in recent months with Washington. So you're telling me here that the Commanders are looking for help at wide receiver. So what could that mean? That could mean that Brandon Aiyuk could still be on the Commanders' radar if they are, in fact, looking for wide receiver help. But, Jack, I thought we weren't in the running for Aiyuk. I thought that Adam Peters, the new GM here with the Washington Commanders, took us out of the sweepstakes for Brandon Aiyuk. And I do believe that report. I do think the Commanders took themselves out because at the time, I think the 49ers were asking for too much in exchange for Brandon Aiyuk. But here's a couple reasons why I think that he could still be in the running. The first is we already know Aiyuk would want to come to the Commanders. He has already said, even on the Pivot podcast hosted by Ryan Clark, that he would be willing to come to the Commanders, all right? So the two teams that he said he'd be willing to go to, the Commanders and Steelers. Right now, the Steelers are the only team still actively in trade discussions that we know of with the 49ers. And according to all the reports that we have heard, Pittsburgh's offer isn't good enough. So is it possible for Adam Peters to come in here late, especially because I think San Francisco's asking price has gone down since the Commanders initially took themselves out of the running? So would it shock me if Adam Peters got right back in there and offered a reduced price for Brandon Aiyuk, and that ends up being the best offer, and Aiyuk lands in the nation's capital? It wouldn't shock me whatsoever, especially because Jahan Dotson definitely had a, let's just call it, disappointing performance in the preseason opener versus the New York Jets. Didn't play all that well, in my opinion. Wasn't getting open at the levels that I would expect a first-round talent like Dotson to be able to do. Also had that bobble issue on Saturday as well. So he didn't play his best game in the world, and he could still be a valuable trade asset as he currently stands right now. So here's a potential trade idea that could still land Aiyuk with the Washington Commanders here. So the Commanders get Aiyuk, and then they send a second-round pick in the following draft, 2025, a third-round pick in the year after that in 2026, and then Jahan Dotson, a wide receiver. The 49ers are reportedly wanting a receiver in exchange for any Brandon Aiyuk trade, so that's an inherent advantage that the Commanders have over the Pittsburgh Steelers right now because they don't have the wide receiver depth to be able to offer somebody to the 49ers. So let me know down there in the comment section, is this something that would interest you as a Washington Commanders fan? Remember, you have to pay Brandon Aiyuk about $29 million per year on his next contract if this deal goes through. So give me an A if you'd accept it and bring the former All-Pro to the nation's capital, or type D if you want to decline it. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. So YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds, and when that happens, take advantage of that time by answering today's pinned question. So after a really rough week of practices with the New York Jets and a really poor performance, in my opinion, in Saturday's preseason game. I'm starting to get worried. I'm officially worried about Emmanuel Forbes once again. I was trying to hold out hope, guys, that he was going to be able to come in and he was going to really play well in camp and, he's going to do good in the preseason games, and he would translate that to a really successful sophomore season in this Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. scheme that they're bringing over. But, it doesn't look like he's really added all that much weight. He said that he's added like 15 pounds. I mean, it doesn't really look like it. He's still as thin as a twig, in my opinion. And I do think that, it might make sense to go out and get a guy like Stephon Gilmore. Coming up here, I'll let you guys know why I think the Commanders need to make this move before a team like the Minnesota Vikings swoops up Gilmore. But before we get into that, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Game Time, which is the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets for the sports, music, comedy, and theater in your area. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee on any ticket to any event, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets to whatever event you choose. So whether you want to go see a Commanders game this year, whether you want to go see a Nationals game, whether you want to go see a Capitals game, or if you want to go do something that's completely outside of sports, like a concert or a theater performance or a comedy show, Game Time has the lowest price guarantee on every single ticket to every single event that you can buy tickets for. They also have all-in pricing right on their app, so you don't get slapped with crazy fees at checkout. I hate when ticketing apps do that. And then you also get flash deals, so if you're somebody like me and likes to get tickets last minute, you like to procrastinate, Game Time actually rewards you for that behavior by driving down their already guaranteed low prices even further the longer you wait to the start of your event. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time today. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS. That's one word, all caps, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off your first purchase. Again, terms apply for that first purchase only. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. So Mark Tyler is a Sports Illustrated writer here, and he says, not panicking yet about Emmanuel Forbes he's talking about here, but I have to think we seriously need to look at bringing Stephon Gilmore in. He and Davis or St. Juste on the outside would be more prudent than starting Emmanuel Forbes. So listen, man, I think that Mark's exactly right here. I think it would be prudent for this football team, if they really want to compete this year, to go out and get a guy in Stephon Gilmore to be a nice mentor for Emmanuel Forbes, the other young defensive backs in that room, and also somebody that can provide you some really, really good play as an outside corner. He was effectively the number one corner in Dallas's defense last year, and that's what he would be here at the Washington Commanders as well. He would immediately be this team's number one corner the second he walks into the locker room, and that's obviously valuable for this football team that wants to play well defensively this year. Another thing here is that Stephon Gilmore played and really played well. He thrived in this Joe Witt Jr., Dan Quinn, heavy press, heavy aggressive type scheme that they're bringing to the nation's capital. He'd fit like a glove. He knows the verbiage. He knows everything that goes into this defense, so it wouldn't be a tough transition for Gilmore either. Then also, he can be an excellent mentor to Emmanuel Forbes. If Forbes is going to have success in this league, all right, it's going to come with the help of some really nice veterans like Stephon Gilmore to help lead the way. Gilmore has had success in this defense. He can give him some tricks of the trade, and hopefully Forbes can come into his own with Stephon Gilmore getting the number one wide receiver assignments week in and week out. And then also, he wouldn't cost too much, in my opinion. I mean, he is somebody that is a bit older. He's probably going to take not a vet minimum contract, but definitely a bit lower on the side in terms of NFL number one corner contracts. I mean, this is definitely something the Commanders can afford on a one-year deal. If he plays well, hell, bring him back next year and see where things go from that point. But I just don't think it makes a whole lot of sense to not bring in Stephon Gilmore, at least for a workout or a visit at this point. Now, it's definitely possible Gilmore doesn't want to be a Commander. In that case, there's no way he comes here. But if he's available and he wants to play for Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. again, I'd say go out and get him. But now you be the GM. You be Adam Peters here. If it's up to you and you get to make the call, are you signing Stephon Gilmore? to a contract to play for the Washington Commanders this year? Give me a yes or a no down there in the comments section. Can't wait to see how you're feeling about Stephon Gilmore. So now I got 3 more takeaways from Saturday's loss against the New York Jets that I didn't get to in my post-game coverage that I want to get to now. First one is my new nickname for Braeden Daniels is officially Maverick, because apparently that deep shot that he had to Dyami Brown on his one lone drive in this preseason game, that was an audible that he did not have authority to make, but he said he's pretty much asking for forgiveness, not for permission on that one. So Dan Quinn addressed it after the game on his deep shot, and he said, I thought of Top Gun when he made that pass. Do I have permission to buzz the tower? No, Ghost Rider. The pattern is full. So I think on that one, he wanted to ask for forgiveness and not permission, and then throw an absolute dime over the top to Dyami to go. It was really a cool play. I think it probably illustrates for him the awareness and checks and things that go into it. He did not ask for permission, so he went ahead and buzzed the tower anyway. So listen, man, I think that Braeden Daniels is going to be a really good player in this league, and I think that the fact that he felt comfortable enough to make that check shows that, A, he's got that really good pre-snap processor so he can process that defense before the ball is even snapped, and he knows how to get the team into the right play. And I love the aggressiveness where even though they told him don't make audibles in this first drive, in this first preseason game, he knows the verbiage and he's comfortable enough in the offense to go out there and buzz the tower and hit Dyami Brown deep. And then another thing coming out of the game here that I didn't mention on the post-game show is that Brandon Coleman did leave with shoulder and pec. I believe it was a strain. He's going to be out for a couple of days here. This is what Dan Quinn had to say about Coleman's status. Brandon Coleman is dealing with a strain in his shoulder and his pec. He's probably day-to-day or week-to-week, but we anticipate him moving forward quickly. So before I get into the rest of my takeaways on today's show, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, because if you've made it this far into the video, my guess is you're probably enjoying the content that we're providing for you guys for free. We also have weekly live shows and breaking news coverage. So if the Commanders do end up making a surprise trade for Brandon Aiyuk, we will be going live, or at least getting you guys a breaking news video for free here on the channel. Really do appreciate all of your guys' support, so make sure you guys click that subscribe button to join our family. My final takeaway here is that Braeden Daniels was, when I went over the All-22 when it came out here, the person that surprised me the most was Daniels, because he's been put down the depth chart here, because he missed his entire rookie season last year. He was brought in as a project from the former regime. The current regime doesn't owe him anything, but he went out there and he balled out. He was probably the best offensive tackle that played for the Commanders on Saturday, and honestly, it wasn't even close. I think, he should be considered to start. I think he should be getting some time with the first-team offense. And now that Brandon Coleman is going to be out for a while, Andrew Wiley is starting to get back from his injury, I think Braeden Daniels, who was, again, a mid-round selection because he's got the physical tools to do it, he showed some really, really good things on film, both as a pass protector and as a run blocker, that make me think that he could be a diamond in the rough here for the Washington Commanders offensive line, and I think he deserves a chance to prove his worth. So let me know down there in the comment section, who's the better young offensive tackle on the Commanders right now? Who would you rather start at left tackle? Type C for Brandon Coleman or type D for Braeden Daniels? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. So now if you're a real one and you made it to the end of today's show, I want you to identify yourselves down there in the comments section, because it's the real ones like you that help this video go, all right? If you make it to the end of the video, the YouTube algorithm is going to say, hey, this person really liked this video, and they're going to push this video out to more Commanders fans like yourselves. So thank you so much for making it to the end today. Make sure you type real one, and until next time, hail to the Commanders.